So today I'm going to be going over some more RaceDay tools. Just a quick thing, how many of you guys were in the earlier session that Kevin, Lai, and Val did? Okay, cool. So I'm going to cover a little bit of what they did as well, just the RaceDay registration stuff. I'll also be covering runner tracking and what that means, your options for that, and also Corrals. So if you guys don't know me, my name is Matt Avery. I am the product manager for RunSignUp's RaceDay tools. I basically coordinate the kind of direction and development process for all of our RaceDay platform, as well as I do some support for both the race director and RunSignUp. So I wear a bunch of hats just like all of you, I'm sure. Today I'm going to be talking about a few tools you can use to help you make your RaceDay experience better for both you and your participants. The goal with all of our products for RaceDay is really to just ensure that, number one, it's easy for you, it's making your day easier on RaceDay, and that people are getting a wow experience from it. You want to make that RaceDay experience the best day possible for them. I used to be a timer myself, and I worked for a race management company, and I ran it for a couple of years, and one of the best lessons I learned from the owner of my company was when you go to a race, regardless of what race it is, it's a tiny mountain top 5K or 5,000 person 5K or half marathon, it's someone's first race that they've ever done. And that's that really hit home for me. You want to make sure that that experience at every single race that you go to makes that person come back to another race. So that's think about that every single time you're doing this stuff. First thing I want to talk about today is runner tracking. Runner tracking is something that RunSignUp has had for a while, and what we were trying to do is a little bit of a rebranding with runner tracking. So results notifications have been a part of our system for a long time, and what we're trying to do is kind of combine that with also race joy experience, so that runner tracking is more of a holistic approach towards participants being able to track themselves and their friends and their family. So I'm going to talk a little bit about results notifications, as well as I'm just going to mention you guys should go to the Race Joy demo that's going to happen. Basically, I want you to understand the results notification system. That's very important because there's things you need to know about how it works so that you set everything up in advance so that it doesn't fail. I've worked with a lot of timers that are really frustrated because for one tiny little thing, the results notifications didn't go out, and it's just very frustrating to both of us when I have to tell them oh man, you didn't upload gender to all of your RaceDay registrations or something, or you didn't put the bib numbers in to RunSignUp, so Netwo didn't know which person it was, so it couldn't match it and it couldn't send a notification. So, also, how can you communicate runner tracking to spectators and participants? There's a lot of different result systems out there, and each of them do things a little bit different. Ours specifically does things a little bit different from other results notification systems out there. So I want to just give you an overview of how it works, how registration works, and how that ties to a result from a registration. So big thing is who is being notified here. Some registration platforms say that when a person comes in and registers, they put an email address in, and that's the email address that my result notification goes to. And that phone number in my profile, that's the one that it goes to. So you guys have probably used our results notification system before. You know that there's two ways to get a notification. You can do it during registration, you can do it after registration. In that process, in that little pop-up, there are two fields. You can enter one email address, one phone number, and two email address, and second phone number. So what we allow is participants to track themselves, but also have someone else be a spectator of them. So what we're trying to focus on here is this kind of spectator-participant relationship. What we want to promote about our system, and what's nice about it versus the way that other systems work, is that we allow a single person to be tracked by multiple people very easily. And it's kind of a roadblock for a lot of people because they are very used to other systems where it's a one-to-one relationship. I have my profile that I registered with, and that's the information that I use to send notifications to. The problem with that is a lot of people have an old Yahoo account from 2004 that they just continue to log in with, and they don't actually check it, they don't see where results notifications go, or they have an old phone number in their profile that they never ended up updating when they changed their cell phone provider or something. So what our system does is it allows you to just enter in any phone number you want. Anybody can come in after the fact and register to track another person, regardless of whether or not they're registrants. So there are two types of recipients here. Participants and spectators. Those participants are those who registered, they're athletes of the event, who want to be notified of the results as soon as they are made available to them. And then spectators are just members of the public. It could be family, it could be friends, it could be another runner in the event itself. So this is just important to understand that these people are exactly the same in our system. It doesn't matter that you're an athlete's also a spectator. The two main pieces of our results notification system are SMS and email. And I get a question a lot about what's the best one to use. I think that you should do both if you can, but I find that email notifications are better because they're richer. They allow you to put in more information easily. Texts are limited to a certain number of characters. I also always recommend to put a live link to a results page. And the reason behind that is that if you send out a static notification that says, guess what, you got first place in your age group, and someone's chip didn't read, and it turns out that that person actually got first in their age group, that person is going to come complain to you and say, hey, it says on my phone that I got first in my age group. Well, if they had the live link there and not the static values, it would bring up the website with the corrected information as soon as you made that update. So, timers, you want to put out result notifications as fast as possible, and sometimes that's to our own detriment because, unfortunately, you're publishing preliminary results. And that, if you put in those static values for results notifications, can really burn you if you're not careful. So I always recommend updating that. And does everybody know how to edit the result notifications in RunSignUp? I'm going to show you. Okay, so on the dashboard, if you don't already use this. The top-hand search is really, really, really powerful. So if you just type in result, so second one down, customize results notifications. So this is cool. What it allows you to do is have replacement tags from the registration data. So what we really want is this individual result URL. That is that dynamically generated URL that brings you to the results page for that person. So if you just send an email or a text with that placeholder, it's going to bring them to the website with their dynamically corrected information, their corrected results at the time they load the page, which is what we want. On the left, you can edit the SMS template, and on the right, you can edit the email template. And you can actually go in and edit the HTML if you want to on this, which is really powerful. So this is like our standard formatting, but you can, if you're clever, you can go in and edit the HTML itself. You can do this for splits as well. So if you have different information you want to send for a split, you can do that.
Sponsor logo?
Sponsor logo, I think you could put in an HTML one in there in the email. So if you had an externally hosted image, you could put a link to it if you know how to edit the code to insert an HTML image. So I always recommend that people go in here and take a look at the defaults. The defaults actually don't have the place in there because of that reason. You just have the time there. Most of the time the time's accurate enough and you're not worried about getting awards incorrect. I like the email notifications more, I think. Like I said, there's more content you can add. There's dynamic results. They're more flexible, and it's cheaper to you. So if you're not using RunSignUp for results, you do eventually have to pay for results credits. So how many of you guys are doing races where you have to buy results credits? It's only a couple, but you know the process. It's just you have to be careful of how many notifications you're sending out, especially if they're like you're doing a triathlon with a bunch of splits and you're sending split notifications for each. You just got to be careful with that. But the email ones, they're free, so you don't have to worry about that. One of the things I also like to highlight is that I went and did some studying and found a study that showed 77% of Americans own a smartphone today, and over 90% of Americans within RunSignUp's most popular age range, from our own analytics that we've done, have a smartphone. So this is like, even if I know there are a lot of people out there who do not have smartphones, it's important to understand the vast majority of people do. And I understand that local and regional markets are different, but you really can rely on a lot of people having smartphones. So these email notifications are a big, easy win for you because they're super simple to set up. They're driven directly from the results, so you don't have to do a completely different results system in order to trigger notifications. They're just sent out as soon as those results sets are set up. That's really, really important. So what about GPS tracking? It's a big topic of discussion these days, and it's something that we're seeing great growth in year over year. So every single year we're seeing more and more races picking up GPS tracking. With RaceDay has been doing great with it. So what we've seen is a 58% increase of RaceDay usage in 2017, which is huge. We had 73,000 track participants, 118,000 spectators, over 2 million progress alerts, 283,000 cheer sent. So that's really cool. And we get so much good feedback from the people who use this software and get the cheer sent to them, the progress alerts. I highly recommend checking it out if it works for your race type. So the types of races that work really well for this, if you're doing a relay event, like a long distance relay event, this is a killer feature. Just try it. It's amazing. Like, talk to James and Shelly at some point. Those are really, really nice. Ultra marathons are great. Longer marathons where you have split points, things like that. Longer events are what you really do well with RaceJoy. Shorter events, not quite as much, but if it's a big 5K, we see a lot of pickup with it. Also, there's a whole management side of it that's really cool, but James and Shelly are going to talk more about that later. They have a session at 3:50 in ULEP, and so go and check that out, please, if you're interested in more information about tracking. Okay, so how do I enable it? Go RaceDay results, set up results notifications and links. You need to select if you want SMS and email. Do you want to include splits or not? So it's go RaceDay results, set up results notifications and links. So this is the one that enables participants to register for notifications. This one says do not allow the text notifications to be set up, so only email notifications can be allowed. Do I want split notifications to be set up? And then there's this temporarily disable result notifications. That's useful if you're testing your race the night before, you're running your results system and publishing results to see how they look. You can just say, don't send them now because you probably don't want them to go out the night before the race. And then before the race starts, hopefully you remember to uncheck this box. So how do spectators register for notifications? Participants, they can register for notifications, like I had said, during registration process. As soon as you enable that, allow notification sign up, it'll insert a new step into the RunSignUp registration process where a participant can register themselves and one other person for tracking. If they want to do more, they can do it after the fact from the Find a Participant page on the RunSignUp registration page. So what I recommend is always sending a follow-up email saying, hey, if you didn't register yourselves or you want to register someone else for results notifications, go to the Find a Participant page and you can grab that URL and send it in an email, and that's the best way I found to do it. So, okay, how do I ensure that notifications are being sent? If you're publishing from some scoring software like RaceDirector, RunScore, or AG, you should always download participants through the integration process. We've had a lot of issues in the past where people will download a spreadsheet and change some data and import it into the software and then publish it. And for one reason or another, it could be many different things, we've lost the connection between the registration ID and the result ID. So it could be that you changed a person's event in the spreadsheet. In RaceDirector specifically, it tries to be smart in the sense when a division change happens, but if you've changed it before, it gets confused. So that can be an issue. If you don't include the registration ID at all, you're going to have a no-go. You're not going to be able to match the registration to the result, and because this notification is on that registration, doesn't know that it needs to trigger a result notification for that registration anymore. So if you're using one of these pieces of software, they have a really great process to download participants directly, and the developers have put a lot of work into it. So do the effort of learning how to do that. It's in the end, I think, a lot easier. If you are uploading a spreadsheet of results and not posting results through an integration process, you need to select how you're going to match to your registrations. Either you can match on a bib number, chip number, or the registration ID in your spreadsheet. So what that means is as you're uploading the result data, you need to tell it that I want to match it on the bib number. If you say I want to match on a bib number, you need to have two things. You need to have a bib number in your results sheet, and you need to have a bib number on RunSignUp. So be sure that if you decide to do this, you have uploaded your bib numbers to RunSignUp, and you haven't downloaded a spreadsheet, assigned them in the spreadsheet, scored it, and then uploaded it. So make sure that you either assign it beforehand or you upload those bib numbers back to RunSignUp after you've added them in your spreadsheet.
Within RaceDirector, if you're storing RaceDirector, will it automatically push back up, like when you click upload and all that?
So Steven's asking, in RaceDirector, if I decide to assign bib numbers in RaceDirector, will they go up? And the answer is yes. So if you score a race in RaceDirector and reassign bib numbers, Doesn't matter because you're going to be doing it probably through the integration process anyways, but it would. Race day registration. I know Kevin already covered this a little bit earlier, and a lot of you guys were in that, so I'm going to kind of go fast through this one. Big thing with race day registration these days is we don't want you to miss out on extra revenue. We want to make your race day more simple, less stressful, and I must have I did not edit that last one. Oh well. Okay, so the number one rule of race day registration, a lot of you guys are already timers, so this doesn't really apply to you, but it kind of does. Make sure that you discuss your plan for race day registration with your timer. And if you are a timer, discuss your race day registration plan with your registration coordinator. Because I don't know how many times I've gotten burned because one person, they're just not talking to each other. And that's just, it's super simple, but it gets lost in the communication sometimes. So make sure you have a plan for how you're going to handle every type of situation that may happen on race day. This is a race organization type thing, but you need to have this solid. So have a plan for if someone walks up and they don't want to type into a computer. Be able to accept paper entries, just have some backup plan for everything, because I've been there and I know how difficult it is to deal with a stressful situation on race day. And they can be easily abated if you just put the planning in beforehand to have that process set. Timers don't like change. You guys know this. If you haven't done race day registration in the past, they may not have a process prepared to enter new online registrations into their system. So, like I said, make sure you talk to each other so that you're both on the same page with this. If you're a timer and you download registrations the night before, make sure that the registration coordinator knows that they can't reopen registration because they woke up in the middle of the night and freaked out because online registration was closed. Rule number 2, have multiple options. I briefly talked about this, but basically make sure that you have multiple plans of attack to allow people to register. People do not like to have to wait in line. They shouldn't have to. We have a lot of options with RunSignUp. So number 1, we've been repeating this over and over, but leave it open if you can. It makes things so much better if participants have the ability to register at home, in the car waiting, in line for a check-in, whatever. So people are generally more comfortable registering on their own phone, on their sofa, or whatever. So let them do it at home if they can. Let them do it in their car if they want to. Give them the option, again, to do the sign-up app. Big thing, pro tip, send an email with a direct link to the registrations the day before the event. This is really, just please do this. It solidifies in their mind that they can still register and they can just do it beforehand. Even if they're thinking, oh, I'll just register on race day, if they get that pre-race email, which you're probably already sending out with a link to registration, they'll probably just go and do it then. So I always recommend that. Sign-up app. Set up a sign-up app kiosk to allow those who want to register with a credit card but didn't bring their phone with them. That's important. I always recommend at least having 1 or 2 of these. Pro tip, be sure to enable and test the sign-up app to make sure it works for your race. Just always go through the settings like we talked about. Make sure that for each of your options, it's got your bases covered. So it's just a little bit of overhead. Make sure that it does what you want it to do and have a backup plan if it doesn't. So I recommend using a keyboard for sign-up app. So signupapp.runsignup.com is the web version of that. That's great to use if you're using a regular laptop or a Chromebook. If you have a tablet that you want to use, I just recommend getting a Bluetooth keyboard for it. People are not comfortable typing on tablets. I don't know if they'll ever be. So just do not recommend that. The other thing I recommend is having one person with an iPhone or an Android who can walk up in the line and ask if anybody needs to still register, and they can just do it for them and swipe their card. It's a really great way to get some of those out of the way early, and it's pretty cool to have somebody like Apple Store style walking around swiping cards. Old school, always have a process for entering in paper entries. You do not want to be caught off guard because an old angry person is yelling at you because they want to pay by check and have the filled out form from last year's registration or something. Pro tip, you can import them into the RunSignUp dashboard or enter them into the sign-up app for any user who's not comfortable using it. Always recommend that. Any questions on race day registration? Yeah.
Bib number assignments. So somebody registers on their phone on the way into the race, then you manually assign the bib number when they pick up, right? Where do you enter that? On the check-in tool?
You can do it in the check-in tool, you can do it in the dashboard. Totally depends on how you want to do the process. A lot of times what I do is Friday night, I'll enable automatic bib assignment.
Right, okay.
And then you can just have like some set range of bib numbers that, it depends on your race scenario, right? But some set range of day of bibs, and they'll just show up with a bib number already assigned to them.
So it'll just do the next number.
Yeah.
Even if you've got somebody doing some manual stuff, you've got to make sure that you
I have like a stack of like
stack.
9,000s. These are my like overnight online entries or something.
Okay.
Or you just use up like a random range you have left over from the
Right.
1 to 500. You have 403 and up or something.
And make sure that nobody else is using the same number.
Exactly. Yeah. I always had some races that were small. I'd order like a 9,000 range just to have that to use in some other races overflow, and I would use that for that purpose. Okay, next I'm going to be talking about RaceDay corrals, which are a super powerful tool that I find underutilized in our system because there's a big problem with certain types of races that use RunSignUp. This is a little bit of a different topic than the rest of my topics, but it was assigned to me, and I think it's still very important. Why this is great is what it allows you to do is organize participants into waves or corrals. There's some automatic processes there, but it's just really good for wave type events. So I've seen dashboards of races that set up 5K, 9 o'clock, 5K, 9:10, 5K, 9:20, 5:30, and I can't imagine how difficult it is to manage that. It's really, you're putting a lot of extra effort in when you don't have to by setting up individual events, which are really meant to be like distances for every single time slot you have. So what I always recommend for those is RaceDay corrals. These allow you to say the 5K has a 9:10, a 9:20, a whatever, or you can do like a Boilermaker style. You have a gold corral, a blue corral, and whatever. Many races will set up multiple events for multi-wave races, making setups, like this is the giveaway inventory setup for a single race, but you can see I've got like the 8 a.m. Elite, the 8:20 Saturday 5K, the 8:20 Full Gladiator, the 8:40 Saturday 5K. All of these options are in here, and it's just exhausting to have to deal with. So if I want to go in and say, I want to set an inventory of 100 for youth small, this is just youth small. And then I have like 8 other shirt sizes that I gotta scroll down to fix later. So what the Corral system does, it just allows you to make it so you're only doing all that effort for the things that you need to manage, you need in order to manage corrals. So things like what time slot are you going? I have a limit on how many participants can be assigned to this corral. But there's also additional features because they allow you to be more flexible with placing participants into waves. And the options to you are, I can automatically assign a corral to a participant based on the estimated finish time that they enter. So I can say that this corral is only for people who qualify. And so you have to have an estimated finish time between X and Y. You can allow it to be set manually during registration so that participants can pick. So it could be just, you've got Fun Run and there's 20,000 people there and you've got a 3-lane road and you need to split it up. But you don't care, it's not like an elite corral up front or anything. There's no qualification standards. You just know I can only fit 200 people per corral. So you can set it up so that each individual corral has a set cap of 200, but participants can go and pick whichever one they want. You can also do this after the registration process, and this is the best option if you're doing estimated finish times, because it will automatically distribute people into your corrals based on the estimated finish time after registration has been completed and you already have all your times. So what you can do then is you can be better at sizing your corrals. You can make sure that you have correctly sized corrals for the finish times that are going to be a part of it, essentially. There's a corral estimation tool which allows you to help you make the right decisions in terms of what your corral times should be and how big they should be in order to get the most efficient corral setup, essentially. I'm not going to go into that today. It's a little bit complicated. If you want help with it, I can help you. A bonus feature, which a lot of people don't know about, is if you use Race Director software, we do have an integration with Race Director so that you could use corrals to assign wave groups in Race Director. So that's really helpful if you have a multi-wave race and you have these corrals set up in RunSignUp so that you can make sure that those people get assigned the right start times in your scoring software. So that's really good. To get started with this, it's under Go RaceDay, Corrals, and then Setup Corrals. And we have a really good help doc on this.
Is it possible for corrals to be editable
Not currently, but we probably could do that. I don't know if we have that as a current feature request, but I'll definitely add that. She's asking if we could edit the Corral selection for a participant in the check-in app. I'm not sure if that's a thing if we can do, but it would be possible, I'm sure. That's a good idea. So, all right, is anybody in here using Corrals currently? Got a couple? Cool. So basically you set a Corral name or number, so this could be gold, it could be blue, it could be 920 wave or whatever. You can set a start time here. This is just a text field. It's not like, you don't have to make sure it matches any formatting, but what that means is that if you're using race director scoring software, it doesn't pull in the time automatically and update it. This is just like it's just an open field. You can write whatever you want in here, so just be careful with that. This doesn't actually assign a time. You can set a Corral description so that users know which one to pick. You can set a max number of participants in here. For each event you have in your race, you can set a male and female min and max estimated times. So when you do that, you can say that this Corral was limited only to a certain group based on their estimated finish time provided. For each event within each Corral, you have different estimated finish times. If you have single Corrals with multiple events, which seems kind of crazy, but you may have a situation where you need that. Always check this estimated finish time question if you're going to be placing participants in a Corral. It's important to have. We have a verification for finish times. So if you set this require verification for finish times quicker than field, so you say, let's say you have a minimum finish time for 5K, like an elite Corral at 16 minutes, and if they say they ran faster than 15 minutes, you're like, okay, you gotta send me some validation there. So they would be required to enter in a URL with some result data that shows that they ran this. We don't do any kind of real-time verification on this, but it just kind of scares people away from lying about it. So that's about it. But don't tell the runners. And then, okay, how do I want to assign Corrals during registration? Do not assign Corrals. I'll do it later. Assign them automatically based on the estimated finish time, or require participants to select a certain Corral. So those are the options to set up Corrals. And then once you have them set up, you can assign them here. Going to Corrals and assign Corrals. So there's two options. I can either assign them by the estimated finish time, or I can assign via CSV. So if I have a spreadsheet of registration IDs and Corral names, I can manually assign my Corrals. So that's really good to know if you're using it. And then, let's see. There's a default Corral option, so if any of your registrations fell out of the range that you are assigning here by their estimated finish times, they get put into a default Corral. So there's sometimes where someone messes up and puts in 99995959 for a time or something like that, and you don't want them to not be in any Corral, so it just defaults them to that one. But does anybody have any questions right now?
The Corrals are not tied to bib number, right?
Oh, that's a good point. You can assign bib numbers based on Corrals.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you go to bib assignment, you can set two bib ranges for each Corral that is available here. So, yeah.
I have two questions. For
Okay.
the sign up app, is there at any point is there going to be a way to add registrants? So I have a family of 4 now registering, and people have to all do it. What criteria is it for recording registration?
Yeah.
Is there going to be a way they can add them all together?
The question is, is there ever going to be a way in the sign up app to do multiple registrations at once? And it's one of these things that's a really difficult development process, unfortunately. We want to do it, and I don't have a time frame on it, but it's something we do want to do. We talked about it in the earlier session. It just involves unfortunately, a lot of work on our end, because we have to change the way our registration API works in order to allow multiple transactions or multiple registrations within a single transaction through the API. It's technical, but it's a lot harder than it sounds, unfortunately. So we want to do it. It's in our list. So hopefully we get there, because I know we have a lot of people asking about it. Anything else? Kevin?
For this auto bib assignment,
Yeah.
Does that work also when you've got kiosks
Yes.
set up? So they'll just go to the bib assignment table, they'll bring it up, and the number will already be there.
So he's saying for automatic bib assignment, if you have that set up and it's automatically assigned the next bib number available, when they sign up through any of the options, it doesn't matter if they're getting that bib number assigned. So that happens automatically if someone registers through kiosk mode or sign up app. when you look in the, up in the check-in, they're gonna have the bib number that correctly assigned to them. Mike?
So if you're doing dynamic bid issue,
Mhm.
you assign a bid range to a certain corral.
Yeah.
If somebody who's checking somebody in decides to assign them to the wrong bid range,
Yeah, we don't have validation on that.
it does,
We do not have validation on that, no.
so they can.
That could be a potential problem. But yeah, we don't currently have validation on that. So that Mike was asking if, we have corral bib ranges set. If someone tries to assign a bib number to that corral, unfortunately we don't have bib number validation on the corrals right now. We have it for the events, but not on the corrals.
When you do auto bib assignment, can you put a cap on the number?
You can have 2 bib ranges there, so you could do like 1 through 200, and then 501 through 600 or something.
Right, just because if there's the race director orders 800 bibs,
Yep.
and they want to be able to have registrations up to the last minute, so you put maybe 100 there, but 101 people want to sign up, we don't have bibs for them.
Yeah.
Right, just cap it so that they can't get an auto sign.
You can do that, yeah.
Cool, good.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Hopefully you learned something today.